There's a fire in my soul, in my soul. And every time it burns, that's when I know where to go, where to go, where I am to go.
Welcome to this week's Behind the Senior Lens. I'm Lori Wood Habiger, your host and photographer of Center Stage Seniors in the Kansas City, Missouri area. This week, I'm talking to Rachel Horst of the wonderfully named Hosh Posh Photography of Letitz, Pennsylvania. So every week, I'm talking to a different senior portrait photographer about themselves and their work. And I put all of the photographers' information down below in the video details. So you can follow everyone that I interview and give them some love on their social media channels. Hey, Rachel, so nice to have you on my show today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So Rachel, as I mentioned, is the owner and photographer of Hosh Posh Photography in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. So Rachel, tell me, how did you first get into photography and then into senior photography specifically?
Yeah, sure. So I actually started as a hobbyist, as I feel like many of us have. I used to shoot just random things. When I started having a family, then I would take a lot of pictures of my kids, and I had a few film cameras. And when everything started to transition to digital, I asked for my first DSLR camera at Christmas.
Which was?
It was a Canon Rebel, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
I think a lot of people started out on the Canon Rebels.
Yes. And I actually had a friend who was a photographer at the time, and I wasn't sure if I should go Canon or Nikon, and she suggested to just go and try holding the cameras and see which one feels the most comfortable, because they both obviously have a lot of pluses and some negatives. So it really wouldn't matter either way. So that's what I did. And I liked how the Canon felt better for me. And that's why I've stuck with Canon. So anyway, I asked for that digital camera to make that transition, and mostly because at that time my kids were both playing sports and I wanted to be able to take pictures at their games. So I got the camera, and another friend of mine also got a camera that Christmas, and neither one of us had any clue what to do with the camera. So she found an adult education class at our high school that was basically photography 101 that the kids would take. And she asked if I would want to take it with her so we wouldn't have to read our, 3-inch thick manual that came with the camera. So we did that. We did the adult ed class. And unfortunately, our very first assignment was to read said manual that was this thick. So we joke now. Yes, yeah, darn it is right. So we joke now that I was the one who went home and read the manual and she did not. And so now I have a business and she doesn't.
Oh, funny.
And then I started having people ask me if I could take their family pictures, or can I just take a quick picture for this, that, or the other. And it started to just get to be more often than not. And so my husband actually suggested that maybe I start an LLC, just start a little business and see what happens with it, because I was getting a lot of requests. So I decided to do it. And that's kind of how it began. My senior journey, I started with families, mostly family sessions at first. I did a couple of weddings with my friend who was the photographer, or she still is photographer, but I did second shoot for her. And quickly found that weddings are definitely not for me. I will shoot weddings now if it's small weddings, and if it's maybe somebody that I know I feel comfortable with and I know it won't be super overwhelming, but that is definitely a whole other.
I do the same thing. So I have second shot for friends before. It's not my thing. It's an exhausting day.
It is.
And I've heard, there's kind of a saying that wedding photography is a young woman's profession, and I totally understand that. Plus just the dealing with the wound up emotions of people and
but, there's a lot of other variables with wedding photography, I will say, that are not really my jam. So
I will do what I call middle-aged weddings. There's
Oh,
a
yes.
lot of
Yep.
people that get married for either the first time or second time in their 40s and 50s, it seems like. And I've done their kids' senior portraits, and then they ask me, and I'll do some of those, but no more than like 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. It is definitely, like you're saying, it's very exhausting.
Yeah.
And I find it most of the time to be more stressful than
Yeah.
anything. And then I worry too much because I don't do it all the time. So it's just not my comfort zone. So
Yeah.
I did do those a few times, and then someone asked me if I could do their daughter's senior photos. And so I said, sure, I'll try it. And I was hooked from the very first shoot. It was definitely awesome. I love working with seniors. They're definitely my favorite. It's definitely become my niche here, which
Yeah.
is great. So,
What
yeah.
do you love about photographing seniors?
I really love the fact that it is one-on-one time with someone. I like to be able to get to know them and know what it is that what style they want, what are they looking to capture. I love being able to feature whatever they're passionate about, which is big for my brand. I do obviously, more traditional senior
Sure. Yeah.
portraits, obviously, but I
Uh-huh.
do work with a lot of kids who are athletes or dancers, or maybe they are, studying music and they play an instrument. Or this year I had a couple of kids in the trades, which was awesome.
Oh,
So,
wow. That's
yeah,
great.
which was, yeah. So it's really cool. So I love to be able to showcase that. And I feel like that has kind of carved out a special spot for me here in our area, which is really saturated with photographers. So I feel like it's important as a photographer to be successful, I think, is to try to find something that makes you stand out from the others.
I
So,
totally agree.
yeah.
Yes. So how many seniors do you tend to photograph a year?
I do probably around 40 a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Busy lady.
Yes. Yes. It is very busy. And of course, our busy season here in PA is really roughly from maybe May, June, through November till the weather is not great. So the time when everybody wants to be off and enjoying their life
Yeah,
and their vacations is when I'm like nose to the grindstone.
I I feel that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So tell me, are you still a Canon girl?
I am still a Canon girl.
What do
Yes.
you
Yep.
use?
Yep, I'm shooting with an R6 right now. I have an R5 as well. I just upgraded this last year. So
They're
I,
mirrorless cameras?
yeah, mirrorless.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. Really like that change. I was looking for something that would be a little bit better in low light, because I do shoot a lot in the gym. I do a lot of basketball photography. So I wanted something that was a little bit better in there, and that it has definitely worked out for me. I did contemplate a little bit briefly switching to Sony and just
Okay.
switching completely brands.
Mm-hmm.
And I did borrow a friend's Sony to try that out, and it was just so different that
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't sure I was going to have enough time to figure it out
Yeah.
between seasons to feel comfortable with making that investment. So I didn't do it, but man, I love Sony photography. I do. I'm a closet
They're,
Sony lover.
it seems like when people go to Sony, they become like these cult-like people. And I only mean
Yeah,
that
it's
in a
a
funny
whole
way.
other breed, I
But
guess.
they
Yes.
get really into Sony. I
Yeah.
shoot Nikon. I have for 19 years, but I'm not like into Nikon. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just what I use. So,
Right. Right. See, and that's how I feel. Yeah.
so what is your favorite lens?
I would say probably the 70 to 200.
Okay.
I'm not a prime. I don't use prime lenses. That's not really, I've tried, but it's just
Mhm.
not really for me. But my 7200, I probably like the most for portraits, like up close portraits. It
Yeah.
has, a nice bokeh. Plus, I use that a lot for shooting sports.
Hmm.
But my second would probably be the 24 to 70.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For years, that's the two lenses I had. And then
Yeah.
I became a prime person. When I
Oh, you
first tried
did.
them, I hated them. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't want to walk. I just
Yeah,
assume.
I know. Yes.
I
Yep.
don't want to change lenses or change cameras. And
Right.
it's actually, I've thought about doing the 70 to 200 again, but I don't know. I like my 135, so I'm just going to stick with it. But yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think it's definitely dependent on your personal style too and what you
Mhm.
need to do. So the how my style has kind of changed and developed lends more to me having the adjustable lens
Yes.
because
But yeah,
yeah,
so you don't have to change lenses constantly because
right.
you're somebody I noticed you do like the wide angles, you like the close-ups, you like it all. And so do you really want to be stopping the shoot all the time to change your lens or get a
Yes.
different camera? It kind of
Right.
messes with the flow sometimes to be doing that too much.
Yep. It definitely does. Yeah.
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 I always find it's a good way to drop my camera too.
Oh yes. And I've done that once or twice before and it is a heart attack in the making. So yeah,
Yes.
I'm not big on having to change that for
Yeah.
that reason. It
Yes.
happened to me once in the stones. So I went
Right.
face first into the stones. So that wasn't.
So the people in your area, when they see Hosh Posh, what do you think they think of?
I would say they probably think of a very like stylistic type photo. I think they definitely think sports portraits. I'm also big on color. I like to have, a little bit more of a bolder color in
Yeah.
my edit and have them be really crisp. That's me.
Yes.
I have definitely transitioned from, I started as a natural light photographer because I had no clue what to do with flash.
Yes.
Self-taught. I had zero photography background,
Yeah.
besides just my little hobby. So I had to teach myself how to do everything and go through. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I went to a ton of workshops. I followed people, that I really liked their work.
Mhm.
And so it was definitely, I started with natural and it was very, and I still love golden hour, but a lot of shooting in the evening at the
Right.
specific time because I was afraid of harsh light and afraid of everything. So like, I'll just stick with my little comfort zone.
I
And
remember the days of being a not young. I started when I was like 37, but um, a new photographer, and everything was scary.
it
Oh my
is.
God, clouds came in. What do I do? Oh my God,
Yeah.
now the sun came out. What do I do?
Yes. Can I just
Things
pick
like that.
one? Just pick one. I can't do
Yes.
all of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I did start out that way and my style was definitely softer at that point and which was fine. I think we all start somewhere and then we grow and change and kind of find what fits for us. But when I really started to focus on seniors is when I really jumped into learning some other styles to make them stand out more because like I said there's a lot of photographers in my area. So when
Yeah.
I found that I really had a passion for photographing seniors, then I wanted to have a different technique that maybe would be a little different for this
You
area.
do a great job with it. And
Oh,
I
thank
did
you.
want to say, everyone, my first interview with Allie last week, we talked about OCF all the time. I never once explained what that was. I guess I just assumed everybody knows, but in case anybody is watching, maybe you're brand new, like Rachel and I were, and you don't know what it is. OCF means off-camera flash. So you use things like this, a studio light outside. And there's a whole technique to it. It's not as easy as it seems like it would be. So anyway, I just wanted to jump in and explain that.
Yes. Yeah. Nope. It's very true. It is, there is a learning curve for sure. But once you get it down, it has been life changing for me because I don't have to stick with shooting in the evening. And I love that. I
Yeah.
love the fact that I don't have to have every single night scheduled to be out shooting now.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's great. Now I have the flexibility to be able to shoot during the day. And even if it's bright and sunny, I'm not afraid anymore to be able,
Mhm.
to go out there or have somebody holding the big
Yes. The
shield over
reflector.
top of them. Like, let's just hide this and hopefully you can be in the shade. So it definitely is helpful, but you do need an extra set of hands sometimes. So that is another thing. But but I
Yeah.
do really like using off-camera flash now.
Okay, well, I think it's time we're going to start looking at some of your work.
Okay.
Okay, Rachel, so first one is one you already know that I love.
Yes.
And I think you said this is your son's good friend at
Yes.
prom.
Yes.
Okay, so this I feel like really is the epitome of what you do. And to me, which I didn't mention earlier, but I think you have a very polished style, kind of editorial at times, mature, and I mean that in a good way. So you can tell you've done this for a long time and you know what you're doing. By the way, how long have you been a photographer?
So I started my business in 2016,
Okay.
and I started probably primarily focusing on seniors.
Mhm.
I would say probably in 2019.
Okay. So
So
really, you haven't done it that long.
no, it hasn't been super long, but I was fortunate enough to be able to transition to doing this full time from my
Right.
previous full-time job. I worked in a hospital before, and our hospital was a community hospital, and we got purchased by a bigger hospital.
Oh, okay.
And so the position that I had in the administration at that time, we knew those positions were probably going to be eliminated, and they were. So I had the option of taking another position at the hospital or taking severance and having, some time off. And at that point in my photography business, I was actually contemplating what I was going to do because I had too much photography business to stay part-time with that and be able to keep my other full-time job. So I opted for a chance to go out on my own while still being paid by the
Yeah.
hospital for a few months, and
Okay,
it worked out.
this is so weird, and I won't go into mine, but what you just said almost exactly echoes my transition from
My word.
doing both and going full time.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
sometimes you're forced into it and it's too scary to make the decision on your own.
correct.
And a circumstance happens and it causes you to take the leap that you had been afraid to do, and then it just works out so great.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think that I would have. I'm not a huge risk taker when it comes to things like that. So I
Yeah.
don't know that I would have actually done it if I didn't have that scenario. Fortunately, during that time, I had those 6 to 8 months, I think it was, where I could just throw myself completely into education and teaching myself different techniques, how to really use my camera the way I wanted to use it, and get myself set up for running my business during that time while still getting paid. So it worked for me, and I haven't been able or haven't had to go back again. So it's been
That's
great.
wonderful. So yeah, you do have, despite the fact you've only done purely seniors for about 5 senior
Yeah.
seasons,
Yeah.
you do have a very, very mature knowledge. I can just see it. You're very knowledgeable about photography, what makes a good picture. So it's always a treat when I see your work around. So
Oh,
anyway,
thank
go
you.
ahead and tell me about the particulars of this.
Sure. So this image was this was on prom day. This was my son, and this is his best friend. I knew they were going to be dressed up. It was my one chance to really like photograph them in that, and they were more than willing. They were super excited, which made it more fun. Our town has, just a little sidebar, our town is kind of a little hidden gem, whereas we have two companies that are based here that work in the entertainment industry and do all of the design and production for concerts.
Wow.
And so we have entertainers, famous people coming in and out of here all the time. There's a right behind Ty in this photo, the black, it's called like the big black box. There is a complete sound stage built in there, just like it would be when, say, Justin Timberlake goes on the road. They run the entire concert. It's full scale. Everything gets practiced there. So we have these buildings in our town, and they kind of make for a really cool industrial vibe. So I said, why don't we go down to, it's called Letitz. So why don't we go down to Letitz and we'll take some pictures down there. And you can't really see the whole car in this picture, but I said, we'll see if we can get, a really cool car. We did. We had somebody that we knew that has a Maserati. So we borrowed the Maserati and we used it for the pictures. It worked out great. They were super excited, but this image was actually like the sky in this image was the sky that day.
I
It was
I
very,
knew it.
yeah,
Yeah.
very overcast sky that day. So we lucked out. It did rain in the morning, so I was sweating it a little bit, but it did stop, and we had real sky. That was how it looked. Now, obviously, the editing brings it out a little bit, but
Sure.
it was very cloudy, and so I did use off-camera flash for this as well to highlight that. But I just loved how it came out with the using that lower angle. The sheen on his suit was really cool, so that came out neat. But yeah, that's pretty much what the setup was there.
So I was thinking, thank goodness he didn't wear one of these crazy suits like it has bananas or
Yes.
pelicans on it or something.
Yes. Yeah, that would have been my older son. He
Okay.
likes that. Yes, that was kind of his thing in 21. And now it's kind of looped back around. I don't know that that's quite as popular now. Yes, they went with solids, so that was good.
So I know nothing about off-camera flash outside.
Okay.
Is this a one light setup or have you lighted that building back there somehow?
No, this was one light. There was enough natural light as well. It's basically just learning to balance the natural light and then using your off-camera light to kind of enhance the image, or sometimes you have to balance it out with the sun,
Yeah.
so that you don't get the crazy shadows. But for this instance, because it was a cloudy day, I could have shot this without using the light, but for something like this, I like it to feel a little bit more moody and a little darker. So if you bring your settings down so that you have that darkness in the background, then you need to add the light to give it that pop. So that's what I did with this one.
As I mentioned privately with you, I love that this isn't overly bright. So I love bright pictures too, but I love moody, darker ones.
Sure.
And I love that you didn't feel the need to just light everything up so much. It's a little of a darker feel to it. And, I think it's also important with people of color that they actually still look like themselves and not overly bright. And you did an excellent job with that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this day, especially with the sky, I didn't feel we could have had a completely different feel with this if it would have been a sunny day.
Yeah.
It would have looked different for sure. But since it was this kind of overcast day, I felt like we would just embrace that and kind of go with it. So,
Love it. Okay, we're going to go on to the next.
okay.
Okay, I saw this before in one of the senior magazines,
Yes.
and I was like, how is she really perched on these giant coils of wire?
She literally is.
Okay.
She literally is. And we found this just randomly. It's a business in Lancaster City that has these huge, just, big wound up barrels of wire and piping out back. And it was right next to another building that we did shoot some photos for her at. And we happened to see it as we were walking out. And I said, I really, really want to use that. Can you get yourself up there? So obviously she did it without the shoes, did climb herself up without the shoes. And then we put the shoes back on.
Both of her heels are interacting with the ties on that wire, which is kind of, I like that.
She had to try to hold herself in there so that it worked well. But this is another thing that I really like to do too. I like to kind of have that contrast between something that in this case is like very urban or, has that kind of gritty feel, but yet she's dressed in, a super cute dress and has her heels on. So that's just something that I like. And this shot also, this was a full sun day. So this is another one where we did use the light as well, because it was super bright that day and very hot, by the way.
I love that. One thing why it stood out to me when I was looking at the senior magazine is, first of all, the background is I'm like, is that real? How did she do this? But also, I mean, just the way you shot the whole thing is perfect. I just love everything about it. And I love that she is dressed very femininely, but she also has she's got the muscles. She's got that kind of strong, modelly expression on her face.
Yes.
And so all of that really ties together in such an interesting way.
Yeah, this was probably one of my favorites from that season for sure. She's a dancer and she's extremely talented dancer. So she was able to do a lot of different. We did a lot of fun things with her. She was also a member of my senior team. So
Okay.
yeah, so we got
Awesome.
to do some cool things there. But yeah, she enjoyed being photographed. She was a wonderful model, and we got some really great images of her that year.
So lucky when you find these kids that can work with you so well.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to move on. There we go. Okay, this is different one. Of the ones
Yeah.
you sent me, this one stands out as a little different. Is this still OCF?
It is.
It
Yes.
is.
Yep, we did use that because the sun was setting behind her. Old school Rachel would have done that all the time, backlighting for sure, golden hour glow, and it's amazing. But I do feel like sometimes if I'm doing that without the flash, then I lose their face.
Oh yeah, you do.
Because there's so much glow.
Yeah.
So we did use some flash on this one just to try again to balance that out, but still capture the glow behind her.
You got that little lens flare going on there on her arm.
Lens flare, yes, yep.
I always wonder, I've never really asked them, and it probably varies, but we photographers love things like flare and prisms and all these things. And I wonder, I'm sure she loved this, but do the average person out there love this stuff as much as we do,
Right. Yeah, I think it probably depends too. Sometimes you can get a ton of it and it's overwhelming, maybe for the client, but we might love it. It's just
I admire it greatly.
Yeah, your personal preference.
I was very happy to see that. Okay, I'm going to move on. Okay, love this. This is obviously off-camera flash again. And are you in a library?
We are in a library, and this is actually no flash.
It is?
Yes, this is natural light.
To tell. Are you facing a window?
Yes, she is facing a window. The library where we're in was a college library, and it had massive windows. The library was stunning, but it had massive windows, and she was facing directly towards that, so we didn't need it. And the lighting there was it was perfect.
It really is. I said this to Allie. I see it with you too. Your clients, like, they love you. You can tell they're really working with you. And that says a lot about the photographer. It's things that the average person doesn't really see, but you can tell when there's a photographer that really kind of gets along well with their clients and puts them at ease. And I can see that here. I love she's just got a hint of a little mischievous look, and the framing of it and everything is gorgeous. So
thank you. This is another one of my senior team members as well. She has a big passion for reading. Her mom's an author, and it was a lot of fun to try to incorporate the library and books into her shoot. So this was one of our favorites from that.
I even love her blue eyes with the blue top.
With the blue dress, yes.
Together, didn't it?
It was perfect.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one, and this is fantastic as well. I feel like a broken record.
Oh.
This is great. What a great vehicle, great guy. He even has those, what are these shoes that they're so expensive?
Yeah, they're
Goose.
Golden Goose.
Golden Goose.
Yes, I learned about them for his shoot, and that's actually, he collects shoes.
Okay.
And so that is what is one of our main focuses, to have like those designer shoes. He had different ones in different images to try to showcase those. And he loves to travel, and their family has a few Vespas. So we thought we would try to incorporate something to make it feel a little bit more of maybe European, or kind of give it that vibe, but then also enhancing his awesome shoe collection. So this was a lot of fun. This was a bridge that is about a half an hour away from us, and it crosses the river there, and it lends itself to some pretty cool photos. So this was a fun shot.
Well, it's all in the eye of the photographer, though.
Yeah, well, I guess so. I
probably would never have thought of this angle. I also don't do OCF, so the shadow and light probably would have been wrong. But this is Wonderful. One thing I love about this image is the fact that you have the Vespa going one way and you have his posture and his face going the other direction. I love kind of opposing directions and images. And of course, then the framing element with the bridge and the tree over on the other sides.
It has a lot of visual interest, I think. And part of the reason of him looking that direction was because we were using the flash and I didn't want to highlight under the bridge too much. So we had him turn and look kind of off in the distance. But I feel like it gave the look that I was going for, considering his leg was extended that way as well. So that he was kind of like looking off to the side, almost like he's just about to kind of get off of the Vespa.
Yes. So this is one of the things you said that you're known for, and that is the portraits, the sports photography, portraits.
Yes.
Fantastic image. It shows that you really think about setting up your scene because, you know, we have the leading lines coming from both sides. So we've got the basketballs and then we have these banners and, you know, this piece here on that little thing back there.
Right.
But then you have, you know, a lot over on this side. So you balanced it with negative space over on this side and you have him facing down into that negative space. So again, very masterful about how you compose, and it shows that you really think about how you do things.
Yeah, this image was something that I've been wanting to do for a while. We have those. So this is at our local high school where my kids went, and also where I graduated, just fun fact. But this basketball rack is used all the time in our standard photos that we do for teams, but not like this.
Yeah,
So I was hoping, I was hoping that we could kind of do something more creative with it, because I do like that all the basketballs are held there. So this was a fun shot, and being able to get the W in the background for Warwick and incorporate the banners, like all the banners, of course, you know, have the dates of all the championship stuff on there. So it was an image that I have kind of had in my head for a while that I wanted to try to bring to life, and everything kind of came together for that one.
That's great. So for the newbie photographers out there, tell us, it looks like I'm thinking of two lights. So the light shining on his face is a normal light, and then the light behind him, you've got like a red or an orangey sort of gel on there.
Yes. Yep. There's red gel on there. Yes. On the backlight. Yeah. So I turned that backlight is kind of at an angle a little bit. I kind of shot it towards like the back of his arm, so that we could get that and just add a little bit of interest in there, instead of you could have done that with two white lights and it would have been fine. But I was trying to, you know, bring in the color, the team color in there, since he was wearing black. We're red and black at our school district. So trying to bring that in a little bit, and then using the regular light in the front.
That's great. Very, very well done. And if we have new photographers listening, one reason why you would want to light up the back of him is, as Rachel mentioned, he's wearing black. So if you're not lighting up the back with a rim light of some sort, then you're going to lose a lot of the person and his body in there. So
yep. And I have done that before when I was first starting using lighting, and didn't know about doing that until I took another course. Then I realized, oh, that's why their head looks like it's just going into oblivion, like there's nothing back there. So very important to have that rim light.
Yeah. And of course, if you have an effect that you want to achieve with one light and make it very, very moody, that's fine. But in general, you really want to make sure that your person is not just totally dissolving into the background. And you can see that Rachel thinks about that when she shoots. So, okay, we're going to move on. So I wanted to mention this, and I think this is actually a really important thing. I said we're not going to talk a lot about business, and I do want to avoid it, but not only as a mother do you, I'm sure, want to be up there at the school photographing, and it's fun, but I think it's really important for the students that we hope to reach through our photography to see that we care about what they're doing, we're interested in it, and see that we're doing things like this. You know, we're part of their school community in a way. And I think that makes a huge difference. And it's something that some people overlook, or they don't know how to get started doing that. But everybody should work pretty hard, I think, to actually get involved at a high school.
Yes, I 100% agree. I think the timing for me was just perfect, only because my oldest son, when I really started focusing on seniors, he was in high school. So I knew a lot of the families were a sports family. So we are out all the time at games, whether it's our own games or other kids' games. We try to support everybody and all the friends. So we are we are just out there all the time at the school. So it did help me in that regard to have an immediate pool of people to start my senior business. But then also continuing, then, like, my oldest is now a senior in college. My youngest graduated high school last year. So now I'm starting that transition of them moving out of school. So in order to keep myself in front of the families and still involved, I do shoot for several sports at the school. I also now shoot for a couple of our local papers for sports events. So those they get put in there too. But I just have become a total sports mom, like 100%. I will admit it. I am a sports mom.
Yeah.
So I love going to games, whether my own kids are there or not. I love being there. I love, the competition. Basketball is huge in our family. My youngest son is playing college basketball at York College, which is what this photo image is. That's not him, but that is our the York College team. So I shoot for them now as well. So I'm there too. But it's been a great way for me to, practice some skills, be able to shoot indoor like that. I love trying to get, capture like the shot and get like, the awesome moment, like these dunks. I feel like I like read the kids now, and I know when things are happening, like, oh, he's going to go for it. So like, get ready.
And then you hope you're in the right place.
Yes. Yep. And sometimes you're in the right spot, and sometimes you're not. And you're like, oh shoot, I wish I, would have been on the left instead of the right. But
so my husband and I do a lot of sports at our local high school and for photography. And you're right. Like, it's just fun to be around the kids. I love the sound of the crowd. Like football season, it's the sound of the crowd and maybe the smoke from the barbecue and the kids over in the stands and all the fun they're having over there. And I just love the whole drama of the football and challenging yourself to be in the right place. That's underappreciated, is figuring out where to be. Basketball then happens, and boy, I mean, school gyms are the worst lighting ever. I'm sure you would really love to pull out your OCF.
They sure are. Yes.
But you can't beat the smell of the popcorn, the squeak of the shoes on the gym floor, and just seeing so many of the kids that you photographed earlier in the year and getting lots of hugs and smiles. And I like that part a lot. So if you're not involved with the school, everybody really try to do that. So.
I highly suggest it. And it's great. And it's also, it is still a part of my business, but this isn't the money maker, be honest. It's, to shoot games is more because you like it, or you're, trying to give back to your community as well. So it's a lot of fun.
It is fun to do just even a totally different type of photography and do it for yourself. And Todd and I, we don't charge we just put our pictures up somewhere and let people download them if they want. And not that it's wrong to charge, but that's just what we happen to do. So
same thing. I work with a lot of the booster clubs, and they'll, sometimes they it's a very small fee per game if you're going to shoot something. And for years, while my kids were there, I wasn't charging for that. But they pay a small amount now because they want to have access to all the photos, and then the parents, they can download whatever they want. They can purchase prints if they want, or they can just get the digitals. But it's more for me giving back
and service, and totally. Okay, we're gonna move on. So this looks something like something I would take. I got a lot of girls in tall grass, and so is this OCF?
This is not.
Okay.
This is all natural.
I went back and forth. I couldn't figure out if you had done that or not.
No, this one was natural. It just, again, stars aligned here, and we had the right kind of lighting. But the way she was positioned here, the trees behind her are really tall. So we had the golden hour glow coming through the trees, but they also wrapped around to the like the back side of her as well. So we didn't have any crazy light coming into her face. So I was able to do this shot without having to use any OCF. And this is probably one of my favorite natural light photos from this last year.
I love that the light's coming through her hair there by your
Yeah.
shoulder. I really love that. And just that really nice, and a lot of it's editing, which the kids probably don't really realize, but the way you goldened all this up, because it seems like at least mine, when I import a shot like this, even at golden hour into my computer, it's not nearly as golden as
Right.
I want it to be. So I like that how you've done that. But you kept her skin looking nice. And I've said it before, but I'm just kind of a stickler about skin tones.
Yeah.
Even
No,
if I don't
I
always get
agree.
it right myself, I still just think that's something we all need to
Mhm.
do well to be
Yeah.
professionals. And
Sure.
you do a good job with it.
Thank you. It can definitely be a challenge, and I do try to make sure for me, the hardest thing is making sure, especially with something like this, if you've warmed it up at all, is not making them orange then or
Mhm.
too yellow or
Yeah.
whatever, and trying to balance that out and make them,
Or
make
making
them
the
look
black
like they're part
too.
of the image, but not,
Yeah.
glowing.
Yes. Agree. And natural light skin tones are just so difficult
Yes, they
at
are definitely
times.
challenging. Hmm.
Okay, well, it's lovely. And I
Thank
like seeing this because this is very different than some of the other things that we've talked about. So,
Yeah.
okay. All right. This looks
Hmm.
like another very Rachel picture. So tell me about this. How did you light it? What lens are you using if you remember that kind of stuff?
Yeah, sure. So this one was my 2470. We were in a gym and clearly he is actually training for the teen version of the strongman competition. So that was a lot of fun too. So we went to a strongman gym where there's like tons of equipment everywhere. And this was something, I saw the ropes hanging and I was like, okay, we are going to have to use the ropes. And he said, well, we don't necessarily use ropes a lot in strongman. I'm like, it's okay. We're just
Yeah.
going to use it as a prop. So I did like having the ropes there to kind of be on the floor and use it almost as a leading line, even though it's kind of
Yeah.
squiggly, but use it kind of as a leading line to bring, your eye up to his face. Um, this lighting, as you can see, the lights on the ceiling there, it was fluorescent lighting. So the
Mhm.
lighting was not great. That whole gym is painted black. So you walk in the room and you're like, okay, great. So there is no extra light at all in here. So we did use off-camera flash. This is only one light. And well, no, that's a lie. Sorry. It is
No.
two lights. It's one light on the front. And then I did use the light on the back for his rim light there. So yeah, two lights set up. This was a lot of fun to create. Another shoot where, I've never had or known anyone who's training for a strongman. So there's a lot of different things that they use outside of like a traditional gym. So we did travel a little bit to try to get to this gym because there's only a couple around here that actually have their equipment. So that was fun to create.
It is a visual treat, really. And what I love too is he's just in his workout gear. He's not in
Yep.
anything special. He's just got his pink t-shirt.
Yep.
And, that's pretty cool with this strong kid wearing this pink t-shirt. And then,
Yep.
his just workout shorts. And I like that sort of realism in portraits. And yeah, he just looks, the whole thing is just a visual treat. I love it. So.
Thank you. Thank you. It is something too that I like to encourage my clients to do is obviously there's certain sessions and certain themes or locations where you want to step outside the box and go, wardrobe wise, get something that's really going to help
Yeah.
stand out or,
If he were wearing a suit, for instance, it
right.
still would look cool, but it looks
Right.
really cool in his just normal workout gear.
Right, right. So when we're talking about something like this, where it's like, okay, I love lifting, I love going to work out. What should I wear? And I said, well, I would just wear what you wear there. Obviously, don't wear the t-shirt that is, from 7 years ago and has 12 holes in it. But maybe, wear something that looks like
He would do They would do
Right.
it if you didn't remind them.
That's correct, which
Yes.
is the big thing. So I do make sure to have that conversation with them, making sure, especially for guys, shoes, big thing for shoes. Don't forget that you want to have a nice pair of shoes. You're going to focus on the clothing and then you show up in, your sneakers from 2 years ago.
What
So
I ask them is please make sure your socks match.
oh, that's another good one.
Your
Yes.
shoes don't have mud on them. I mean, this happens all the time.
Yep.
And this is rather indelicate, but I'm thinking of about giving them all a nose hair trimmer. I am so tired of editing out nose hair.
Yeah, especially when I do a lot of show shooting, like looking
Yes.
up towards their nose. So yeah, that is kind of a good point, Lori. I'll have to
some
add
of
that
these
to my
guys are
list.
super hairy, and that nose hair is just out of control. So
Yeah, sometimes it is.
that might be my guy gift this year.
There you go. There you go. Everybody gets
Sure, it'll embarrass them though. So I don't know. Okay, we're gonna move on. So here we go. We got another sports portrait, low angle. So this is very Rachel, very well done. So is that the natural sun back there, or did you put that?
That's the natural sun. Yep, I didn't do any change to the sky or the sun there. When we were just talking about lens flare, I do try to still, if I can, I like being able to pull that lens flare in, but still have, like I said, have the face balance so that, if you still capture everything and all the detail there. So this was another image that, again, he obviously a baseball player. We were at a minor league stadium for this one as well. And yeah, just trying to balance out and kind of get that emotional feel.
Yeah.
This kiddo actually was not going to continue playing baseball after high school. He had a elbow injury and then re-injured it again, was planning to go to play and then re-injured it again just before it made the decision not to go. So this shoot was a little more emotional because it was kind of more for him to close the chapter. He wanted to capture it because it has been part of him since, he was little.
And a lot of these kids are going through difficult endings like this year.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yep. And it's another reason why I feel like I connect so well with seniors. When I was in high school, I was a dancer and I was on the path to go to New York to study there, and I got a back injury and I never ended up going. It was just too much rehab and other things coming into play. So I didn't do it, but I do understand how hard a lot of these kids work, how many hours they're putting in training, how much they've dedicated to their sport, how important it has been, and how, the goals that they have. And my heart definitely goes out to the kids who, they get these career ending injuries and can't continue.
Yeah.
But I'd still try to encourage the families, that doesn't erase the last 10 or 12 years, of what you've basically has been their whole lives. Yep. So you still want to be able to capture that and have that because, it's still a huge part of them.
Oh, yeah.
So
totally.
I know sometimes in our consults, I get that question with, some families that are facing that and they're not sure, we don't know if we really want to do that because they're not going to be moving on and doing it. And so then we have that conversation. And then I feel like 9 times out of 10 till we're at the end of it, they'll say, I do want to do it. I want to do it because you're not going to do that again, ever. So you want to capture it, you have it, it means something. And, a lot of times senior photos are going to be the last time that you have professional pictures like this taken of you to this extent. Mm-hmm. I always say until like maybe you choose to get married someday. Yeah. Otherwise,
even that's going to be with someone else. This is solely focused on them.
Mm-hmm. Just you. Yep. Just you and what your story is right now. So, yeah.
I was wondering, do you have trouble? So it seems like you photograph in gyms sometimes, in the minor league baseball park. Do you have trouble getting a permission to do those things, or? Typically
for the high school gyms, it's not well, and especially here, just because we know a lot of people and, I know most of the coaches, it's not too much of a challenge. Other school districts, sometimes, a lot of times they just want a coach to be present with you, which is fine. Mm-hmm. I don't really have a lot of issues getting into gyms to use them or to use facilities. If you're going to go to the minor league stadiums, that can be a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
Obviously you have to get around their regular season, their practice time, when they're going to water the fields. If, a lot of these stadiums also have other local events that they host too, not
Right.
just, so
Mhm.
that can be a little bit more challenging, and you have to be pretty flexible in your schedule to make sure that you'll just go when they say we can
Right.
go. So sometimes the kids have to take off of school, which they never squawk at, but yeah, so that can be a little bit more challenging, but for the most part, I'd say when I have to use the school facilities, it's usually okay.
Okay, Rachel, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really enjoyed talking with you today, and let's do it again sometime, okay?
That sounds great. Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.